Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast. And now here's the guy who's a girl's guy. Don't get it twisted. I am Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rob Has a Podcast. Here we are on the first Sunday night of the Big Brother season, and we have a lot to talk about here tonight. We've got a great panel for our first proper episode of a Big Brother. Tonight we got to see Daniel's nominations, how he arrived at them, and everything else going on. And plus, we'll talk about everything going on in the Big Brother house at this hour here tonight with our panel. First, let's welcome in here, joining us back again from many different places, including the RuPaul's Drag Race RHAP, the Masked Singer RHAP, the B&B and Science. It's Dr. Liana Boraas. Liana, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks, Rob. I hope you guys didn't pay too much attention. I held the door open for you when we all joined the podcast. So hopefully you won't hold that against me in the future.
Yes. Okay. I did catch that. And I appreciated the act of chivalry, but I'm making a mental note.
Okay. What a super fan you are.
Okay. Whew. Very polite, but also I'm paying attention. Okay.
On notice. Got it.
Yes. Okay. Of course, joining us also tonight, she is co-host of the Mess Magnets podcast, and really, to get to hear from both Mess Magnets in one day on a very messy season of Big Brother is very on brand. Also, we just talked about RRR on Rob and Kivanita podcast this weekend. It's Sasha Joseph. Sasha, how are you?
We're here, aren't we? I wore my dress that I was gonna wear to the finale, but I wore it here. But you guys asked me to.
Yeah, you were supposed to say no.
Ooh.
Oh, darn.
What were you thinking?
Little arrogant.
Worse than holding the door open.
Damn.
Can we just kick her off?
If you had any spines, you would.
Okay.
No,
all right.
True boys, girl.
Yes. Okay. Sasha, so great to have you here tonight. And of course,
so glad to be here.
The man who is back in the swing of things. Here he is. Taran Armstrong. Taran, how are you?
Very happy to be here with my homies. Ready to homie it down?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. The homie is here, Taran. And, usually we would say, all right, Big Brother, the happiest place on earth. Maybe not so much at this hour. But
same as Newark.
Yes.
Same energy.
The second I came into this call, I saw each and every one of you, and I just knew instant homies for life.
It was the hair, Taran.
It was the hair. We have the same hair.
Yeah.
We all have the same hair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's just set up a couple of quick things. We are going to start taking your questions on all the podcasts this season. Use the link, robswebsite.com/BB questions. You can send them in during the show. We will answer them later on in the program. And then tomorrow, we will have the first edition of The Slop. Jenny, Autumn, and I will talk about all of the nonsense in this season of Big Brother and beyond in our weekly patron-only podcast, The Slop, coming on Mondays this season. That's going to be 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll send out the patrons the link for that every week on Monday. And also for the patrons on Friday, we just dropped the BB Q&A. Taran and I took your questions live on Friday afternoon. This past week, we'll do it again this Friday as well for the patrons of RHAP. All right. So we didn't get our proper premiere episode. Taran, this was kind of like the pseudo, if we had a real premiere, this is a lot of what it would have been like.
Yeah, we got the introductions. We got the oh man, look at all of the really attractive women. Mm-hmm. Oh, look at Joseph's muscles. Mm-hmm. I actually don't think we got Joseph's muscles, which is a shame. But yeah, we got all that stuff, and I think obviously a much better episode than the premiere. Especially what I loved was no competition.
No competition.
The whole thing was just getting to know the cast, looking at them building the relationships and alliances, and hearing about their lack of Denmark knowledge.
Yeah, Liana, I feel like in Survivor that they do that a little bit more. Like the first couple episodes of the season, maybe they don't always have like a reward challenge. They sort of just try to keep it to one challenge. So is this possible that like, was this a production call of like, hey, no, let's not do a challenge on the first Sunday night so we can spend a little bit more time getting to know the characters?
That is a very kind thing for you to think, Rob. I think they were working very hard to try to figure out a way to put a competition in this episode because, dear God, Big Brother dare not to go an episode without having a competition. But you know, the fact that they reused even some of the things that we even saw last week, like Monty's impressions, he did the same impressions again that we saw in his intro package. So even then, it felt a little bit like
is a master of impressions.
He's so good. He does the same 3 impressions over and over again. And I think it was the same lines as well. Someone could go back and cross-check that. So, you know, I'm just really glad that we got to know that about Monty because I felt like that was truly missing in terms of getting to know these cast members.
Liana, yeah.
Well, let's be real. Somebody got fired because there was no competition in this episode. Like, Grodner watched this episode. She found out tonight that there was no competition, and somebody is currently packing their little office box.
Sorry, we'll have to let you go.
Yeah. No, Liana, I thought you would have really liked these impressions because you could name them all, right? Right?
America. I'm the new HOH.
Right? You know who that is, right?
The classic Godfather.
Marlon
right?
Brando, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
HOH room.
Okay, this house guests want to play? We can play.
Okay, that's
Tony Montana.
Yeah.
Scarface,
Yep,
right?
Scarface.
And then you know this third one, Liana.
Come on, hurry. We have a game to play.
It's the Jack Jellyfish.
Oh, that's what he was going for, of course.
Look at my muscles.
Yes.
Look at me. I'm some huge.
Screw you, Patrick. Yeah.
Wow, you two are both really good at impressions.
I know. We're so good. I
Yeah.
could be in Vegas
Yeah. I'll be gonna open maybe for Daniel.
for
Yeah.
Daniel. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then Sasha, we didn't really spend a ton of time on the nominations or why the people got nominated. It was kind of tacked on at the end of this hour where we got Michael and Terrence ending up on the block, especially the Terrence part of it.
Sorry, does Daniel know why they're nominated? Like you're over here trying to make a lot of sense. That man don't know nothing. Okay, the spineless jellyfish showed up into the house.
Not the Jack Jellyfish.
And
Different.
absolutely not. And then he's just like, "Oh yeah, I gotta nominate people." And also, he really is such a liar. Because if you watched any of his tape, not his tape, his interviews ahead of time, talking all this big game, and look at you, loser. Like, I'll be nice right now and I'll let it go. But like, what a genius plan, right? Hey, I can bond with Michael because we're both super fans. And what am I gonna do? The exact opposite, because I am a super fan genius.
Yeah. Well, this
What a
was
guy.
one of the most interesting parts of this episode. And Taran, I saw you already comment on it on Twitter. Of course, we all know about the first in curse, which I believe Tamar beat in the celebrity edition of Big Brother. But as far as the U.S. U.S. game goes, that the first person into the house has never won the game. And Michael, people were tweeting about it. Boy, this guy's a super fan. Watch this. He held the door open. But Taran, Daniel picked up on that and said, I see you. I see you. And for that, you're going on the block.
Yeah, it's for years people have been talking about how the classic strategy entering the house, if you are the first person in your group, you just politely hold the door open for everyone else to go in first, so you can avoid being the first one in. And in some ways, it should be a good thing because it should be a signal to any other fan that, hey, I'm a fan. I know what I'm talking about. We should work together, because typically super fans, they like to work together. They like to bond over the fact that they know the show and that they can strategize together. But Daniel has now publicly on the episode outed not only the first in curse, but also the strategy for the first in curse and made it a negative thing. He killed it. Nobody else is going to go on there and hold the door, but you can't do it anymore because Daniel made it wrong. He made it bad.
A self-hating super fan.
Yes.
There's so many bad decisions that Daniel made, but the one thing that bothers me so much is Michael told you too he was a super fan. I could maybe understand it if it's like, oh, well, he didn't tell me. He's pretending he doesn't know the show, Okay, maybe, but like he clearly wants to work with you. He's trying to make an effort and he's telling you he's a super fan. So then he's a super fan. You have the confirmation from that as well. So that should be a good thing, right?
Liana, as a person of science, okay, that is the right move for Michael not to hold the door open because of the first in curse. Should Michael run in the door? One, if he is the first person in, has a chance to make history, but knowing that it's just a superstition, he's also then able to cloak the fact that he's a super fan.
Ooh,
because no super fan would run into the house first.
Okay. Well, I think it depends on how, superstitious you are. If you're just a little stitious, then maybe you can get away with it. But Tamar also walked in first. So I don't know. Do we still believe that that's really a curse? We haven't really tested that theory yet.
Yes,
but
we don't know if spinoffs count is the problem. So here's the thing, Rob. I'll take it a step further. Intentionally go in first so that when you talk to Daniel or another super fan, you're like, look, I know. I know that I can't win the game. You know it too. I was the first one in.
Yeah.
Take me to the final two. It's a guaranteed win. I can't win.
Also, that the revisionist history is that pretty sure Kyle was the first person in the house, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Because there was already a group in there.
They don't know.
They don't know if there's another group in there. That's why. Yeah.
Well, there was another. There were people back there when they got there.
Right.
So, but
Well,
when
they
walked
figured
in,
it
they
out.
witnessed
Yes.
Eventually, they figured it out. But at
But
first,
y'all,
that stuck with Daniel.
But you are all assuming that people they're casting are watching the show. What have we learned in this past week? No one has seen anything. So I don't know why we're even discussing, because you can do whatever, you can say whatever. They're just gonna cast Instagram people anyway. So you're fine, super fans. Keep talking about it. You're good.
Yeah.
These people are not watching.
Taran, you and I think this might have been on the Q&A when we were talking about that. Okay, Daniel had clocked or mentioned Kevin from Big Brother Canada in his I listened to the podcast and he mentioned your interview with Kevin, and I had wondered, okay, so does he see Michael as a Kevin, and is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? And we found out tonight clearly he thinks that's a bad thing. His takeaway from listening to your interview with Kevin is if there's anybody like this person, they need to go.
Yeah, which is weird because it seemed like it was a good thing at first. He was talking when he initially brought up Michael as an option to be nominated. He was like, oh, but he's a super fan. I wouldn't want him to go home. But somehow that just continued to spiral. And really, if we're being real about it, I don't think it was the fact that he was a super fan that really set him off on this path. I think it was just the fact that he thought it would piss off the fewest amount of people. Michael was the first person whose name was dropped to Daniel multiple times. And I think once the name was dropped, that door was open, so to speak. It all just flooded in and he came up with all kinds of reasons for why it makes sense to nominate Michael.
Yeah. All right, I want to go back and talk through the episode that we got tonight and touch on some of the things that we haven't been able to talk about. And I think there was probably a couple hours in between when the episode was taped and then ultimately when the feeds went on, and some things that correct me if I'm wrong, that we didn't get to see. But it seemed like that immediately after the taping was over, the bros got into the house, started talking, and hit it off right from the jump.
What did they say?
Just
it was
good
just
bro
a
stuff.
Pooch.
Vibes
yelling.
only, baby. Vibes only.
Yeah.
That's all. They weren't speaking.
Yeah. Pooch, you did it. And they're all getting together. And I wonder, did that sort of tie into the decision of who was going to be the have-nots?
I don't think so. I think it was just I think that they all kind of we saw Michael go first and then they were just kind of like, yeah, me too. And And I don't think Michael was a part of that crew in the bathroom either. I can't see Michael doing that.
Okay. We got to see it was talked about a bit tonight, the confusion over the backstage powers and what goes into the backstage power, that the backstage people, they cannot be nominated, they cannot vote. Paloma did tell us a number of times that she is still able to play her social game.
That's good.
Yeah.
No veto, but social game.
She's still able to play the social
You
game.
can play social game. I think Alyssa said the same thing. We're gonna play our social game.
It's basically the inverse of Sam and BB20.
Yeah.
Oh my god. The Scorpio
The inverse
connection.
robot
y'all.
twist.
Yes, the Scorpio sisters are here. Yeah. We found out Michael that he is going to lie about his job, that he is going to be a escape room tester, or he's a designer. Or he works
like
in
an
an
employee.
escape
Like
room.
he's an
Yeah.
employee.
He just works at an escape room.
Brittany's a toy tester.
Brittany's the toy tester. Yes.
Yes.
So when I was watching feeds, I think I heard him say, Michael, like a total of 3 words. So do we know if we knew this information, or is this the first time that we're finding out that he lied about? I mean, I assume he was lying about being a lawyer, but that he's an escape room person.
Yes, we knew this. And I believe that he has actually worked at an escape room before, which is why he's using it. That being said, there was a conversation, I believe it was Brittany and Amira, but it was definitely Brittany, where they were discussing, like, who do we think is lying about their profession? And Michael was at the top of their list, and they were like, let's quiz him on escape room things. Like, they definitely are suspicious.
Yeah. Now,
Regular Kurt Clark.
Is an escape room a good fake job? Because they feel, oh, that guy's going to be really good at puzzles.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, this is bad. You should not lie about this. You're gonna be so good at those vetoes, those individual vetoes where you have to like run around and do a bunch of stuff. That's what you're doing in an escape room. Why?
And you're a strategist. Like, isn't that literally the point of a damn escape room?
And you're planning strategy too. You're not just solving strategy. You're like planning other strategy for other people. I mean, I get it. He probably wants to go with something that he's actually rooted in and can lie about, but I don't know.
Just be unemployed.
Kyle's doing it.
Like,
yeah, he's lying about that. Yeah.
I would just be like,
say,
I'm a trophy wife.
I'm big on TikTok. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a mogul on TikTok.
Yeah.
And then Brittany, she says she's a toy tester. I think this one is actually pretty good. That toy tester. Like, what's the problem with toy tester?
It's a little weird. Just the sound of it.
Well, I think once she explained it, that it's, we work with the kids and the kids tell us what they like and don't like, that makes more sense instead of, a grown woman in her 30s playing with toys. That makes more sense to me.
She's not a fall, right?
It's like, that slide was a 6 out of 10.
Those little cars, like the red and yellow ones, she's like scooting around in them.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say would be bad is that if there was someone with a kid and then that person is like, do you know this exact brand of this toy? I hate it. And then that Brittany's like, what?
If somebody has one of the kids watch one of those YouTube channels. What's
Ryan's toy review.
Yeah, she's like, I hate that kid.
Yeah, and she's like, who's Ryan?
Taking us out of business.
But she does have kids, right, Brittany? We don't know. Let's see if the chat is gonna have the answer to that. I thought so.
She talks a lot of.
Okay.
Yeah. She talks a lot about being a researcher. She doesn't say tester. She talks about being as a researcher. I observe a lot, and so I use these techniques when researching and like conducting interviews for researching. And she basically tries to like talk about her work as a therapist via being a researcher.
Okay. We got the classic, iconic Big Brother champagne sipping. Go around, everybody tell a little bit about yourself. Sasha, anything jump out to you here from the intros from the house guests?
I mean, Indy's job, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. So Indy tells us about her what her jobs are.
I work as a corporate flight attendant on private jets. And I'm trying to get my degree to become a sex coach.
Okay. Why are we just hearing about this?
The men were foaming at the mouth. Okay, they were like literal rabbit dogs. They could not handle. I was like, I think you're just outing yourself that you're bad in bed, because they were just like, I need to be an assistant. Oh, shut up.
I need to
You
be
sound
sex
dumb.
coached.
You probably do. I seen you dance, Kyle. You probably do.
The twerker.
It really, when he asked to be adopted by her, it really adds another element to that.
Yeah, that's a complex relationship there. I don't know if we want to get into that.
Nah, no.
Yeah. Interesting. I like, you would think, look, and we've all watched Big Brother for a very long time. How did they go with her intro package of that? I'm a flight attendant.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
It wasn't
Not
mentioned
upset.
at all, because sometimes they'll do it where they like start with one thing about them, and then they'll be like, and like Terrence at the bus driver, and also I'm DJ
The hottest DJ
Showtime or whatever.
Showtime, right.
Yeah. So then
Yes.
they would like flip it and then do the thing with her.
She'd be like on the private jet, like, I work on private jets, and also while we're up in the air,
Private.
Mile High
I
Club.
coach some sex.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yes. Is it possible? Is she lying about this? Is this
It's
like,
strategy.
Is it strategy? Is like, I know I'll get in good with the guys if I say that I'm a sex coach. They won't put me on the block.
Well, as we all know, she is a guy's girl. So
She's still in training. Is that a good or a bad thing? If you're gonna lie about it.
In which profession?
I
The
think
sex coaching.
The sex coaching.
Well, that's the thing,
Yeah.
because in the circle we had an assistant to a sex therapist. So, and she was also in. What's higher on the scale? Like, is it assistant, like the step up from in training, or is in training like after you've already been an assistant?
Well, I don't know what the sex coaching looks like. Is it a certification? Is it a degree? You know, did
Is
I
it
get my
different
PhD
than-
in the wrong subject? I don't know.
Is it different than sex therapist? Because I feel like that's the term I heard in the circle.
I think a sex therapist implies that there is like that's I think sounds very different than a sex coach.
It does, because when I think
that sounds like clinical, whereas a coach,
in my head,
sound like you have like some sort of like actual certification.
in my head, sex coach is like, well, coaches who are on the sidelines, like, come on, you got it, come on,
yeah, Kegel,
Someone clip
now,
that.
give me 20.
And thrust.
Oh god. You're
Go around the back.
There was an episode, I think, on Grey's Anatomy
Yeah.
where some guy literally, I think, was a sex coach and like was in a session live while the doctors were in, and they were and he was like, I don't think she's enjoying it that much. And but it was very like boring. It wasn't fun. He was very clinical about it. So.
Do you think they'd give like motivational speeches in the bathroom? Like, hold on, I need halftime.
Yeah.
When you get back out there, you're gonna.
Yeah.
Please. Taran is law. We broke Taran.
Yeah.
Someone give Taran the sex duel because this is crazy.
This.
Oh my god.
Okay.
I'm sure it's a very. I don't mean to insult any sex coaches out there. I'm sure it's a very legitimate thing.
Sex couches out there.
Yes.
Yes, in nature.
Yeah, Taran, has this come up at all on the feeds? Like, has Indy talked about this since? Because this seems like that this was a surprise.
I mean, I was surprised by it. I hadn't really heard much in the way of discussion about it, but Indy's not like super on the feeds a lot. So
Okay, all right. So we'll see. Anything else that stood out from the introductions?
They didn't use champagne glasses. They were using some weird sort of margarita
glasses.
glass. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
Could we not? Okay.
Oh, and if you're a pageant coach, a pageant girl, do you say it or no? That's something that came out too.
Right.
Where
Yeah.
Paloma was very offended that Taylor dared
Yes.
share that.
It was a night where we heard a lot of what Paloma thinks about Taylor, and I'm sure we will have much more on this subject. But she thought that she didn't think it was such a hot idea for Taylor to reveal that she. But I don't know, like, how does Taylor keep that a secret?
And why
Yeah.
should she?
Yeah.
It's everyone's like revealing their job, you know, like there have been open police officers before. There have been construction workers, therapists, all kinds of lawyers, like all kinds of professions. Taylor says, I was in pageants, and Paloma's like, ooh, bold move. Yeah.
I mean, has this ever been a thing on any of the other shows that we've watched over these last 22 years where somebody like, and people, there are a lot of pageant people who have done well on these shows, but I don't know if anybody has ever been targeted for being a pageant person. I'm sure chat will remind me if I'm wrong.
Not that I can think of. Sometimes on Drag Race, there's like the pageant queens and they can have some assumptions about them. But in terms of this like Survivor Big Brother world, I don't think that we've ever really seen this negatively impact anybody.
Yeah, especially Survivor like really like hit the pageant world hard, like effort recruits for many, many years. I mean, people in the chat are bringing up Holly only a couple seasons ago. And you know, that was not, nobody was saying like, okay, we got to get rid of her. She was in a pageant.
I know. These
Miss Wyoming.
Just so deceptive when they're talking about world peace. They don't actually want peace.
And not to assume that, you know, Paloma has seen like any seasons, which she has, but like not to assume that she knows anything real about the show. But it's not like there have been pageant winners. Like it's not like like Joseph stood up and said, yeah, I'm a personal trainer, I'm like the most fit person, I'm in like the top 0.1% in the world of fitness and in stuff, look at me. And she goes, wow, he looks like the other 5 people that have won the game in the last 3 years. Bold move to come out saying you're a personal trainer on top of that.
Yeah,
it's a risk.
Do we think that Paloma attempted to get into the pageant world at some point and had like a negative experience? Is this, do you think that is there, like, if we like find out her whole backstory, that there's some sort of a trauma around pageants?
Ooh, her mother signed her up when she was just a wee little lass and, was ridiculed in those, like,
she was on like toddlers and
pageants.
tiaras.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Very
I
traumatic.
knew from that day on, I could never trust anybody coming from the world of pageants.
No, I think she's just jealous because she wants to be the guy's girl. And she's getting nothing.
She has Daniel wrapped around her finger.
Yeah, something that the episodes obviously did not include is that on Twitter, prior to the season starting, prior to the cast even going into sequester, Taylor being involved in the cast was leaked. And people talked about how there was going to be a pageant girl on the show. Now, I was not up on and I keep calling it pageant girl because they're calling it pageant girl. Like, I feel like it's such a demeaning term.
A pageant woman.
Right. But Taylor. Like, I don't know. I don't know like what was being said about the pageant person coming on the show, but it was mentioned specifically by Amira, who said like, yeah, I saw ahead of time that there was going to be a pageant person on the show. And like, for whatever reason, whatever was being said, whatever was, being talked about, it got an image in their head that like this person is not to be trusted.
But where was that? I don't remember seeing like all this talk about it.
I saw tweets about it. Yeah, but I don't remember it being like that negative. I just remember it being kind of factual about like there, the rumor is that there's a pageant, person in the house this year. That was
a pretty safe bet, though. That's sort of like
that's true.
And there's going to be a model,
like a former college basketball player on the season.
I could be wrong again. I really
someone unemployed.
Yeah, I really did not look at it, but I think that I remember seeing that that maybe there was like I know this person that's going to be on that's a pageant person. Which maybe implied that like they were not only in the pageant world, but also in the Big Brother fandom, and that could have also added to it. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not the person to talk on it.
They talk a little bit more about some of the other pseudo punishments going on in the house these days. The backstage boss and the backstage people. Like, didn't they need a better name for the other backstage people?
Well, I didn't call
say
them
backstage
the
girls.
Backstage girls, yeah.
The backstage girls.
So
Listen, at least it's not Camp Comeback, okay?
But it is though, right? A little
But
bit
it-
in disguise, right?
And
Like
the
they
shirts.
they were really just like in love with the concept, but they were like, that looked bad. What if we changed it just a little bit?
But kept the shirts because we liked the outfit.
yeah, well, not the full outfit, it's just the t-shirt. So
Like, what are they going for? It's like, oh, and then they'll wear T-shirts that say backstage all week long.
genius. Oh my god, got him. Like, they don't even have to wear passes. I thought at least they were gonna have to wear their passes. And Pooch isn't even really wearing his shirt. He just wears it as a necklace as he goes shirtless.
Well, or he wears it over his hoodie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which in combination with the fact that like he's 5'10" in a 6'3" world, like really makes it a humorous sight.
Mm-hmm.
I need
I don't
someone
get
to
it.
change their Twitter bio. I'm just 5'10" in a 6'3" world.
Mm-hmm.
God.
We get have-nots also that Daniel needs people. We get 4 volunteers for the have-nots. Michael, Monty, Joseph, and Kyle will be our have-nots. We see Slop. We see the have-not room. Whatever. Why are we even still doing have-nots in 2022?
This is the only time they'll ever be discussed on the show as well. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
because we'll
Did you
just forget
see the
about them after.
floaties?
Mhm.
And
They're
they
gonna
have
sleep so poorly.
towels, 4 blankets, torture. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
Who is this for?
Allison Grodner.
Yeah. No, little kids. I think little kids like to see the have-not room, and that's it.
Maybe because they have a
see.
slide in it. Yeah, little
It's a
kids are gonna
slide.
want
Yeah.
it. But, like,
You
they
know
can
what?
go to
Don't
the
let Brittany
park.
in there. She's gonna test it.
I won't
Mhm.
lie. If I was like 10 years old
Mhm.
and I saw this segment, I definitely would be like, do we have any floaties? I would like to sleep on one tonight. Like I would definitely
that's
want to
cute.
try it.
I like that.
Yes.
That's cute.
Yes. Okay. We get a segment on Daniel and Nicole. They saw each other and they knew instantly, okay? They were going to be each other's final twos. Taran, what do we think of love at first sight in the Big Brother house? And do you think it is an effective idea that people should do? Or do you feel like that people should sort of like, ride it out for a couple days before you lock in and make a final 2 deal?
I mean, go ahead and make the deal. You can always just act
Mhm.
like you didn't later. And people do that all the time. But the idea of like love at first sight for alliance building is very much prevalent in the show. I mean, they didn't show this part of it, but when Paloma and Alyssa talk and make the Scorpio sisters, they also say, the second I saw you, I knew. And I mean, that's a large part of like a lot of what we're talking about when it comes to the social dynamics of these shows. You see somebody that looks like you, that makes you think of you because you have the exact same hair, obviously. You're like gravitating to that person. You're like, oh, this is the person. They're just like me. And that obviously is just the like very first step on a road of, people who aren't similar to the majority of the people in the house having a much harder time.
Mm-hmm. They are the Rogue Rats. From
I was-
rats to riches.
They're rats for sure.
Just rats. I was
Just-
similarly confused that I think it was Puya that talked about it with you, Taran, about that it was Rugrats, but it's not because it's Rogue.
My
Rats.
my closed captioning, Liana. I always watch the show to close that. My closed captioning said they're the Rugrats.
Okay,
Hey.
there we go. It's official.
Call Angelina Pickles.
I haven't heard them say Rugrats at all. In fact, when they talked about it later, Nicole had to ask Daniel, so are we rats to riches or rogue rats? And he had to be like, we're rogue rats, and our motto is rats to riches. And then he went on to explain, and you said you're a fan of the X-Men, right? Doesn't Rogue have like the streak in her hair? So
So
I think
Rogue, he's the rat.
No, they both have the same hair, remember?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
And
they both have the streak.
Yeah.
Liana, that they're the rogue rats, and their catchphrase is from rats to riches. Why isn't it from rogues to riches?
Don't know.
Because they're not rogues, they're rats that are rogue.
Okay.
Why are they rats?
from rogue rats to riches? No.
Yeah.
No, the rogue is only the term to describe them.
It's a descriptor of the rat. It's a rat that's rogue.
The rag rogue rats.
No,
Rag
because he said we're
for
gonna
riches?
go rogue, and it's like you're not. Like
Go
everything
rogue
you're
on what?
That's the question, because
Pizza.
everything you're doing is
Like the pizza rat.
Does he have a Nissan Rogue?
Oh, big Nissan guy.
great
Mhm.
car.
Yeah.
But what is there rats in your rogue? Like I don't. No, math is not mathing with this man.
hmm Okay. All right. Another final two deal. The Scorpio Sisters. Okay. They and they also have snakes and rodents on their mind. A lot of that going on in the house. They are talking about which girls are going to be the girls and which girls are not. Here's Paloma.
She's my girl. We have a lot of things in common. We both sometimes sleep with our makeup on, which is hilarious.
Okay. All right.
Hilarious.
How Liana, Sasha, how hilarious is it to sleep with your makeup on?
That's so bad for your skin.
I
Do
mean, a
not sleep with your makeup on.
22-year-old, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
yeah.
that's- she's like, I can get away
listen,
with it.
when I was 22, I was doing that shit too.
Yeah.
But,
But that's
Hilarious.
girls stuff.
it's
Yeah.
so funny. Oh my
Yeah.
god, because all girls do is talk about makeup. Duh.
Oh my God. Yes. And sleeping.
Ah, so
Mhm.
funny when we
Where's
sleep
Army?
at 3 a.m. and wake up at 7.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that's what I look for when I am, looking for a partner, a best friend, or something like that. That's the first question I ask. I go like, so do you sleep in your makeup? Because this is a key thing that will bond us together in the future moving forward. It's a good
Mhm.
criteria. Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
Listen, if when I sleep over at your house, I don't want to mess up your pillowcase with my eyeliner and mascara. So I have to know we're on the same page, that we're
Mhm.
both messing up our stuff.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Because if you have like messed up pillowcases, it's like here, perfect. I don't even care. Like look at all these pillowcases at my house. Just go to sleep with your makeup on, whatever you want.
Amazing.
Covered in
Yeah.
bronzer. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Just
Stop
do
it. I'm cracking up. You guys are too funny.
Thank you.
It's
I
relatable.
tried.
You're just not a girl's girl, Taran. It's okay.
Okay. All right. So this leads us into Taylor is playing pool with the guys. And Taylor is wearing a bathing suit. I will add, it's an incredible bathing suit.
So
Yeah.
stunning.
Yeah. Incredible. And she's playing pool with the guys as a bunch of the women are sitting, and they're like, look at her. Look at her. Can't believe it. She's playing pool with the guys right in front of us.
Yeah,
How-
Rob
Do you believe
exposing
it?
that he's a girl's guy.
There she.
Mm-hmm.
Classic girls guy.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody says I'm a guy's guy. Nobody says that.
Maybe a boy's guy.
In Survivor, look, I was one of the first girls guys. That
We
all
know.
the,
That's
I,
true.
Mhm.
I was with the guys, and the guys and the guys were the guys were like, we don't like this guy. He's always with the girls.
He's a girl's guy.
He's a girls guy. Get rid of him.
Famously, they made an alliance called the Guys that
And
didn't
I
include
went-
you.
And I went with the girls, and I said, hey, let's vote out the guys.
And you played poker with them. We all
Yes.
Cool. We all remember that. Yeah.
And it all kicked off when you were in your bathing suit,
yes.
kind of just
yes.
like leaning over some
Infiltrating,
trees. Yeah.
Mhm.
Learning
It was
how
real
the girls
lit, man. It
communicate.
was
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
So I've seen this movie before,
Okay.
and so
Knockoff.
yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yes. But yeah, she's getting a lot of side eye from all of these women looking at her about like, oh, is she trying to manipulate the guys by playing pool?
Yes, a pool shark in more ways than one, I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciated that we got a diary room from Taylor explaining what she was doing, and then we got into all of the Paloma diaries, which Paloma had one diary room session earlier where I love these types of diary rooms where it's like, well, I love her, I love Taylor's style, and I think she's so nice, but and then goes to like completely complain about the person, completely invalidating every compliment that she said before. So we were even set up before this to know that Paloma, has her eyes on Taylor.
Mhm. For sure.
And that
Okay.
cutscene was so horrible, where Taylor's just like playing with the guys, and then the girls are like just a bunch of stares, like daggers at her. I stop this. And I'm not even a fan of the girls right now, but even then, it's just like, let's just not do this, or at least tell the truth. But the way Paloma is like constantly was given so much spotlight for all this nonsense, I couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, Paloma clearly had the most confessionals in the episode tonight. Maybe somebody who does Big Brother Edgic will actually, but it certainly seemed like she got the most airtime in the episode.
Yeah, which is something I think that I expected. She was very active in this segment of time.
Yeah. And we see her in the meeting then after that, where it's 6 of the other women in the house, is basically all the other women except for Taylor and Nicole, are talking about, okay, we are the girls.
Yeah. And I feel like there's been some confusion over what this means, girls, boys, girls. It's so I feel like luckily Amira really cleared it up for us.
She says the boys girls, like the boys girls instead of like the, you know what I'm talking about?
girls.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So now we all know what they're talking about.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. And yeah, the plan is talked about how like, hey, this is the 6, and we're not about Taylor.
There's nothing more like being a girl's girl than bashing other women. It's just classic
It's the rules
girls'
of
girl.
feminism.
Gosh.
Duh.
The first people that you need to go after are the girls. Yeah.
Yes.
Not the guys.
Not the guys.
No.
No.
The guys, girls first. Yeah.
Yes.
Because they're
obviously.
worse than the strong guys that win everything. But the weak girls that don't win anything but talk to the guys. Oh, horrible.
Right.
Horrible.
I mean, we've been talking for many years about a women's alliance coming together on Big Brother. Has any women's alliance ever thought about that? The problem with the women's alliance is that the women that are not other, like, instead of like, because these women's alliances are like, hey, we're gonna get out the men. But was there ever a women's alliance that thought to vote out the women who might work with the men first?
You're onto something.
It's a bold first move.
Yeah.
We're breaking all the BB strategy down tonight, holding the door open, women's alliances targeting
that way
other
the
women.
men never see it coming.
There you go.
Well, see, maybe it was never about what gender made up the alliance. It was all about who the alliance targeted. And that's why the women's alliance would fail, is because they targeted the men. But if the women's alliance target the women, how could they fail?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Easy.
How could they? How could they?
Yeah.
What are they going to do when they get out the other women? Then what do they do? Then do they target men?
Then they succeeded.
Yes.
Or, they
That's
won.
it.
They've
Then
won.
they
We've done it.
disbanded. Yeah.
Then
We've done it.
they're going to manipulate the men.
Yes.
Oh, I see. I see.
After that.
see.
After that part happens.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Remove that barrier first.
Okay. We check back in on Alyssa, who tells us about, as she's talking with Amir about some of Amir's world travels. We hear from Alyssa.
I want to go to Newark too. Isn't that the happiest place on earth?
Yeah, Newark.
I've always wanted to go to Newark.
I've flown out of the airport. It was lovely.
How happy
Lucky.
was it? Yeah.
Oh, I was so happy. Yeah. It's an airport. So,
Obviously, just already happy. And then on top of that,
yes,
extra happiness.
Exactly. Because the airports are super fun because there's like chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. cute moment with for Newark. Good for Newark.
Good for Newark. Maybe that's
Big
the
moment for Newark.
rebranding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rebranding
she
that
is
they
the
needed.
branding. Yeah, she does branding, right? That's her job. So
Oh,
there you
so
go.
she
New
got it.
job for her.
New slogan.
Can we
Mhm.
accept
Newark.
her reasoning that Newark and Denmark sound exactly the same?
Duh.
At first,
You don't think it?
They do end in arc.
Mhm.
Correct.
I did think she meant Norway just because they both started with an N, but apparently it was more the pseudo rhyming of Denmark and Newark.
Mhm. I guess
doesn't
Norway plus Denmark equals Newark.
Okay. Okay, so she just sort of
The
like merged some
Scandinavian,
Scandinavian countries
yes.
together.
Mm.
Yeah.
Big blur.
I did like Kyle being like Disneyland.
I mean, that's
Mhm.
what I thought first. And that's, I literally was like, Disneyland. I mean, that is the slogan
Yes.
of Disneyland.
Do you
and
think
it's not that far
Disneyland will
from
sue
it.
Newark if they
Yeah.
find out?
Mhm.
Here's
Or
my
maybe
problem.
Denmark.
Cease and desist, Alyssa.
When somebody says something with complete confidence, like I doubt myself first. Like if I was in that conversation, I would be like, is Newark a country and I never knew? Like I would be too scared to try to correct her, knowing that I could be wrong and she might be right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's like the Vatican.
Right. Taran, it is interesting that in Big Brother, and we see it in Big Brother US, Big Brother in Canada, it's like the only place left in the world where people like actually like debate about I was gonna say about debate about facts, but there's a lot of that going around. But to like have debates that like can't be Googled. Like everywhere else, and somebody's just like, oh, give me your phone. Oh, okay, I'll check this out right now. The Big Brother house, the only place that like where that can't happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Seen it with time zones. Now we're seeing it with countries.
Reindeer, animals, like
Yeah.
so many different things. So the place where just like these like inane conversations could go on for like days and days.
There should be like a side quest in Big Brother where you get currency that you can spend on outside information.
See, I thought you were going to say that, like in Michael's escape room, you should get to ask production like 3 times during the season to Google.
Kind of what I said.
Yeah.
Is all right, okay, guys, this has gone on too far. This has gone too long. We need to cash in one of our chips. We need
yes.
we need to ask a friend, ask a Google.
Is Newark a country?
Yes.
First question.
Yes. Can you please settle this? Okay. All right. We have some fun with that, and then we go to talking about. All right. Here comes Amira. Amira is going to go and try to push Daniel to do the bidding of the girls. And so, hey, think about it. Look at all these guys. They went and volunteered to be have-nots. Why do you think they did that? Taran, I did think this is interesting. That is this a thing that if you volunteer to be a have-not in the first week, are you more likely that the HOH is like, all right, well, they already did a solid for me, I can't put them on the block?
No. Nobody cares. Nobody plays the gratitude game in Big Brother. We say this all the time. Nobody can be guilted into doing something. Nobody can be like, oh, well, I guess if you did this nice thing for me, I can't, even though I think it's best for my game, I just can't nominate you. Now it might put it in it might make it less likely for them to land on you in the first place. But if somebody's just going to want it to happen anyway, it's going to happen. And like the weird thing is that you see this a lot too. Like Amira didn't even say like, oh yeah, I overheard them talking, saying like, we tricked Daniel into not nominating us. She was literally just like, well, what they might have thought was that if they volunteered, you might not nominate them. And he was like, what?
Oh.
I never thought of that possibility. If that's the case, they're trying to manipulate me. Now I have to consider nominating. Like,
Rocks for brains.
Even if it was a correct theory, who cares?
Also, he's the one who said in his bio that the people he doesn't want in his alliance, crazy masculine men, the ones who have to make a point that they're a macho men, I don't vibe with those people. So when Amira is bringing you this information, that would be a perfect opportunity for you to follow through on what you're saying in your bio, except that that's probably not true because you just crave their attention because you're a pick-me girl. So I think that that's really just where he's coming from.
Where on the scale is the pick-me? Girls, guy, guys, girl,
they're the
pick-me,
worst.
girl.
Yeah.
God.
A guy's girl, but like worse.
Yeah.
A guy's pick-me girl.
Yeah. Did you say a pick-me girl?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Can you? That I am not familiar with the pick-me girl.
Not like a picnic.
Yes.
No, not like a picnic. It's a pick-me or a pick-me girl, and they crave attention from men, even at the slight of putting down other women. I'm not like other girls. Oh, I'm so tiny. No, not like that.
They want to be
Ooh.
picked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like they believe that by like denouncing the matriarchy or feminism, they get a longer leash from the patriarchy.
Yes.
Interesting.
And that's
Okay.
Daniel.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he's a pick-me guy.
He's
Yeah.
he's a pick-me guy.
This middle
No,
school BS, like I can't. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's so like I feel so sad for him, but also middle school was what like high school was 15 years ago for this guy. He's 35 years old. And like Kirsten, I mean, dragged him enough this morning, so I won't do it anymore. But like get a life, get a grip on yourself, because it's embarrassing. Like they literally didn't even give him that much. And he's like their tail. He's literally dying for them. And he'll be like, what do you want? I'll do anything for you. And why? Because someone was mean to you in high school? Let me be mean to you now. Then maybe you'll get it. Because this is horrendous. Like, he's so frustrating.
He's a performer, you know, so I think there's also a little bit of that of like wanting the validation from others and sort of that sort of thing, which I think that's also part of what's influencing his decision making and his behavior in response to the others in the house.
Therapy.
Yeah.
Maybe Brittany can help.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Google it from his phone.
Brittany, by the way, is saying these exact theories on the feeds. She believes these things to be true.
Oh, okay. Let's then go to this. From there, we get the story of is this Michael? We start to see from Michael's side of things. Michael needs to pivot. Taran, I saw you also took exception to Michael saying he didn't want to come in and play too hard, too fast.
Yeah. Oh, as a super fan, which is probably the most common phrase in all of Big Brother at this point. As a super fan, I know the worst thing you can do is come in and play too hard, too fast. And literally all of the super fans watching the feeds for like 3 days straight were like, Michael, talk to someone, please do something.
Yeah, you're good, my guy. You're good. You're not in the danger zone.
Yeah, don't worry about it. You're not gonna overplay. I mean, it's the reaction to the Frenchie of it all. I have to imagine, but you're allowed to talk to people. Like that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. And he gets the green light from Daniel to come and visit him in the HOH room. We will see that later. We got a scene then about Jasmine and Paloma. We hear a lot about how Jasmine's father passed away within the last 2 months, correct? That Paloma also was talking about her grandmother that has passed away. Paloma also says that she has a tattoo on her body that's to remind her, be gracious. And maybe it's just not in a prominent position where she sees it often in the mirror.
It's like on her rib cage. She can't really see it herself.
I think it's a good message. I just think that she probably needed to have it someplace where she's going to be able to read it more often.
Like
like how often are you like
see it in the mirror?
Maybe
like
on
Memento.
her eyelids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But very very nice scene with Jasmine talking about her father and how he was a firefighter, had lung cancer, so that was a very touching story. So that is sort of in between. Michael got the green light from Daniel. He will now go and visit Daniel. And his ask is basically, hey, can you not put me up on the block?
Classic boilerplate pitch. I'm not falling for that. He'd already made up his mind at this point.
And didn't Daniel get upset that Michael asked to talk game with him? And was that conversation in front of?
No, that was later. Or that was earlier that he had asked. But yeah, because the thing is that Michael on night one was like, I want to talk game with people. And then he asked in front of Daniel, in front of it was either Indy or Brittany. I think it was Brittany. Hey, can we chat? And Daniel was like, in front of a person? Excuse me. But again, at this point, he's already kind of made up he's already talked about Daniel as a potential nominee. It's less the fact that like Daniel actually did anything or Michael actually did anything wrong. I might have said talked about Daniel as Michael as a nominee. And more so that just like anything he did was going to be wrong in Daniel's eyes because he already had decided this guy's going up.
Yeah. It was an interesting pitch of like, hey, could you please not put me up? Is it better in that spot to like come in with like a suggestion? I know you say never name names, but is it better to come up with like some sort of like a proposal as opposed to like, hey, could you just not put me on the block?
I don't think so, especially in Michael's position. As I said, like Daniel had already made his mind up. If Michael starts name dropping, like that's 1,000% being used against him the second Daniel gets the opportunity. I think if we're going to criticize Michael for this specific pitch, I think it was, to be a little fair to Daniel, it was a little generic. It didn't really. It went straight into like a pitch. It was like, let me give you my presentation rather than let me like get in here and talk with you. And as we know, Daniel is all about vibing with his homies in a dope scenario. And so when Michael is all business, exactly. Rob knows,
that's what these podcasts are. It's just me vibing with the homies.
Rob has a vibe with his homies.
That's called Miss Magnets, but okay.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
Well, I think we see it with Paloma, who is mirroring that language back to him. And that's really what Daniel wants to see. He wants someone, you need to go in there, you need to practice a little bit active listening. You got to try to figure out where he's coming from. And then once you have a better understanding of what Daniel, the HOH needs, then you can start to make your pitch because you can tailor it. Oh, sad. You can modify it to be more what he's looking for that will ultimately appeal to him, to Daniel. I mean.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We ended up getting a Joseph segment, not Sasha Joseph, but we got to meet Joseph. But I thought it was wild the way we got into the segment of here's Kyle to tell us about how that growing up in Utah, like I'm so glad I'm here in the Big Brother house to learn about diverse cultures.
Oof. Yeah. Unfortunate timing, one. And two, there was a Kyle, what was he talking about his grandma?
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, she's like kind of racist. Like, okay, thanks, Kyle, for dropping that knowledge on us.
Yeah. So we got Joseph segment again. Nice segment in the show. We don't get a lot of Joseph in the episode tonight, other than this, but at least he's here and we get to hear about what it means to him to be in the Big Brother house and about his background and growing up. Well, let's go back to Terrence. And Terrence didn't get a lot here in the episode. He kind of gets buried a little bit. That he has like one conversation with Jasmine, and she's like, I don't think Terrence is doing good. He said, why don't all the married people work together? She's like, I don't think that's good for my game. Why not? How many people are married?
Who turns down anything? You know what I mean? Like if someone tells you we should work together, are you like, what are you thinking that you're going to be like, no? I'd rather not.
It felt like they were editing the show together, and then they forgot that they'd never mentioned Terrence.
Yeah.
They were like, crap, we got to edit him together in the last like 5 minutes of the show to have something about why he was nominated, because we spent all this time on Taylor.
Who are the married people? Michael said he's married, right?
Engaged.
Terrence. Okay.
Brittany.
Yeah.
Brittany, Terrence, Jasmine, Michael, technically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Michael and Terrence are on the block. Maybe Daniel has a problem with married people.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
Maybe Jasmine is like, I'm not gonna get lumped in with this.
We're turning this into Love Island, baby.
Yeah, I gotta stay with the single and ready to mingle people.
The true super fan.
Yeah. No, my biggest problem with this is not only does Jasmine just like straight up turn him down for like, she's like, you want to work with me? Married people sticking together? That's not good for my game. Like, why? But then she goes on to say, like, Terrence, what? You got to go out and talk to people if you want them to work with you. And it's like, what do you think he's doing? That's what he's doing with you.
Yeah. That's a good point.
He literally proposed something to you. I don't know. You could call it like an alliance or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very much like Jasmine's requirements for being in her alliance are that you need to have at least 10 years of experience, but you also need to, it's an entry-level position.
Yeah. Okay. So she doesn't want Terrence in the alliance. All right. And then we're going to go back and see Paloma, that she's going to go back to the HOH. Wants to, she's going to play her social game. She's going to still go back and plant some seeds about Taylor. Again, harsh words about Taylor from Paloma.
I wouldn't personally go for Taylor because if she somehow stays in the house, she's going to come burn me like an evil witch.
Burn me like an evil witch?
Yeah.
I think I almost fell over.
This is in the diary room.
Right. In this scenario, she's the evil witch, right?
She been.
Because the witches get burned. So she's calling herself the evil witch?
She would.
Freudian.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're just talking like in a Salem witch trial.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I wouldn't personally go for Taylor because if she somehow stays in the house, she's going to come burn me like an evil witch.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
Oh, like
Salem
an
witch
evil
trials kind of thing. Yeah.
I will say in the Wizard of Oz that the Wicked Witch was able to say, hey, Scarecrow, want to play ball? And she did throw fire at the Scarecrow. So mileage may vary. But in all seriousness, that Taylor, like this one-sided feud is so out of whack here that she's an evil witch now, Taylor.
I mean, and this was in the diary room, but there was a lot also that we saw. So this just sort of barely scratches the surface of these interactions. So I don't know if to talk about that in feeds.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, wild that we got that in the in the confessional of what Paloma is thinking. It's not sort of just like conversations that are just taken from snippets. She's telling us directly what she's thinking dealing with Taylor. But that doesn't move the needle for Daniel here. His nominations are going to be Terrence and Michael. He wishes that he hated people, but can't do it. It's nothing because he wishes it was personal.
What does that even mean? Like, what are you saying? Just take 1 second to think before you speak. That's what I have to tell. Because why would you wish that it was personal? Like, what? Isn't the whole point of this game is that it's nothing personal?
And then also to set up that like paradigm of I can only do it if it's personal kind of thing.
Yeah. It was a very sort of emotional nomination ceremony, I think, for a lot of people. I think because, first of all, like, look at Terrence. Like, he looks so sad. And how can you not be sad for him? And so there definitely is a sense of like man, like, we're really like, this sucks. It's so sad. We like these people.
Yep.
I enjoyed the Michael confessional. That was so fun to see some fire under him when he was complaining about Daniel's reasoning. He was like, that's BS. I'm going to go win the veto, rub it in his face. It was fun to see that passion from him.
Yeah. We also got to hear from Paloma here after this. Now, Taylor was not on the block, but Paloma's still happy with these nominations.
Seeing two guys on the block is wonderful for Paloma's game because numbers, baby.
Numbers, baby.
Yes.
Numbers. Yeah,
Yes.
Paloma actually did specifically not want Taylor on the block. She did want, in fact, she said specifically, like, let's be careful about how much we say about Taylor because we want to make sure a guy goes home.
Okay. And that's it for the Sunday night episode here. Anything else from the hour of television we got here tonight? Okay. So what I think what we should do now here is let's bring in the live feeds and talk about everything that's going on here right now. We will also then answer your questions as well, because I think that those deal with stuff that's going on in the non-TV show portion of Big Brother. The next Big Brother episode that we have for you is going to be on Wednesday night as we go to the back to the regular Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday schedule for Big Brother. And so with that, let's go ahead and bring in tonight's first spoiler segment of the season. Here we go.
The Office of Civil Defense has issued the following message.
And we don't need to dance tonight. I think there's nothing to dance about with these live feeds.
I was going to twerk.
I mean, I'm going to dance because I get to drag.
Yeah, okay. But we're not happy to talk about the live feeds. All right. Taran, do you want to give us the quick explainer of where we're at in case anybody has not been caught up?
Yes. Okay. So Michael and Terrence were nominated. Michael was the intended target from Daniel, with Terrence as the pawn. And Daniel got closer to Terrence and really started to want him to stay even more after nominating him. And at the same time, there was, some intrigue about what might happen with that vote, but irrelevant because Michael ends up winning the veto. He plans, of course, to take himself down, and that means that Daniel has to replace Michael with another person in the house, and that person would be Daniel's intended target. Now, Daniel's initial thought was to put Indy up on the block as the easiest person to do so. But all of this stuff going around about Taylor, and in particular, the guys came up and really pitched hard that Taylor should go up on the block as a big move. Really started to convince him that Taylor should go up on the block. So as of right now, the plan is to put Taylor up as the replacement for Michael. Taylor is the target. Everyone is on board to vote her out. Taylor does not know. And it's getting pretty ugly.
Yes. So the targeting of Taylor, which we see the start of in this episode, and then obviously continues because we've seen it just completely pile on and spiral out of control on the feeds. Things like she's bullying, which comes from nowhere. These are perfect examples of unconscious or cognitive bias. We see this all the time in the Big Brother house. Most of the time we see it in conformity bias or bystander bias or those types of things. This definitely seems to be rooted in stereotypes, which is resulting in microaggressions. And so I think that it's really unfortunate and upsetting to have to watch because it's such an egregious example of all of these types of biases coalescing to target one person who doesn't have any idea really. I mean, she's starting to pick it up. She cried on the feeds about feeling like she's not connected to people. And I think that is just, it's something that absolutely we need to mention and talk about, because we don't spend a lot of time talking about these kinds of things. I mean, now with DEI efforts, it's starting to happen more, but I just wanted to take this moment to really like reflect on what we're seeing and the types of biases that are happening in the House and why that's resulting in Taylor ultimately being targeted and a lot of these things being said about her.
Can I also just say thank you, Liana, first, for setting that up. And I even want to say it's, folks, I think that are watching the show and maybe don't have the same experiences as the people that are feeling uncomfortable watching this. I want to first make a note to say that, like, just because your lived experience isn't equaling what's happening on the show and why we're calling it out doesn't equal that it's not real. So that's number one. And then secondly, like, if you feel like, and I say we, let me speak as if I am calling you, racist or anything, like I am, because if you understand white fragility, you should look it up. And if you feel like what's happening is okay, like you're cracked and like you need some help. And third, like another thing is y'all are not about to go after like especially Black people, when they are speaking up about this stuff, because I've seen that so much online. And I just think folks like forget that we also want to enjoy the show. Like you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to sit on a Big Brother podcast and be like, great, I do DI work for a living, so now let's talk about it on my podcast too. Like, it's not fun for us either. But the fact that we still have to watch this and keep happening, and it's anti-Blackness, I want to make this very clear. Like, it's not like that's the very specific thing happening, because Paloma is a person of color, and that doesn't equal she is free from anti-Blackness. So I want to make that clear also. And then lastly, diversity initiatives are stupid. And that's where this comes to, because it's nice to be diverse. And then what? If you're bringing folks into diversity and then not creating a space to actually bring them into an equitable space, a space that's hospitable and not hostile, a space where they can thrive and not survive, what is the point of diversity? Like, I don't understand why these stupid diversity initiatives are so important when there's no justice, there's no belonging. Like, I'm so tired of it. And like this performative BS, like it's like, I don't know why we are constantly subjecting ourselves to this. But yeah, I just wanted to add to that piece as well.
I just want to make sure that it doesn't get twisted what you're saying, because I feel like that's what happens where somebody takes a headline, but from the podcast and then runs with it. You're not saying that the diversity initiative that CBS did for these shows is stupid as a blanket statement, that if we're bringing people into a hostile situation, that where people are applying for the show and treated poorly when they get there, that's the issue we're talking about.
Yeah, and I don't believe that diversity at your cast is where it ends, right? Like, your production isn't diverse, the casting team isn't diverse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just, yeah, so that's what I mean. It's like, it's nice for folks to only think about it in 2020 when we've been talking about it since the start of time. But like, yeah, I just mean, and where are the Asians on this damn cast, right? Like, I'm not even talked about that piece yet. But it's just, yeah, sorry, Rob. Thank you for saying that. Like, I don't necessarily mean that diversity initiatives are stupid, but I think that big corporations have co-opted this diversity initiatives and made it like bad. If that makes sense.
Well, that's why it's diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? You got to hit those two last notes as well, in order to, I think, really fully live out and realize what the goal is for us as a society.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because, sometimes, and this happens a lot on the podcast, we're talking about like complicated things for several minutes at a time, and somebody, runs with the clickbait, sort of like here's like 8 words, and then it's like, okay, but now it turns into a whole different thing. But I agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah. And I have a master's degree in this, so I'm happy to talk to people about it offline. I agree. If folks are running with like something I said sideways, like, happy to chat about it. I do this for a living.
So, oh, go ahead, Taran.
No, yeah, I just think a good example of what Sasha's talking about is even on a small level, the difference between Big Brother US right now and Big Brother Canada, where Arissa is sort of like at the helm of that, doing a lot more than just fulfilling a quota in their casting.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So obviously, what's gone on in the house over the weekend has been sort of like well documented in terms of the bad behavior that's going on. The thing that, as somebody who is not watching the live feeds as much, is that I'm a little confused about what exactly, like the plot of what happened, where this really started to spiral was. Taran, can you just explain so Taylor said to Monty that Paloma was coming for him, and then Paloma denied this and says that Taylor is a liar, and that's where the Taylor is a liar idea comes from?
I mean, that was probably like the first big, like, actual concrete thing that people could point to. But I mean, it started, as we saw, honestly, probably before they even got into the house, let alone the fact that once they got there, it was more like they already thought this way about Taylor, and then they used like the smallest little things to justify it at first, and then they waited and they looked and they watched, and then they found out slightly bigger things, and they're like, oh, see, this is proof. And then they waited and they watched, and now this is like, oh, well, this is what proves it, that this is like the thing, because it is hard to describe. It's hard to tell you the story of like how it got here, because it doesn't really make sense in a logical way if you're trying to find like solid reasons of what Taylor did or anything like that, because it doesn't exist in that way. And we've done this sort of thing before. Remember last season when Derek X all of a sudden was like the house pariah, and it was like, how do I explain how this happened, because it's not real. And so it's the same sort of thing with Taylor. So, I mean, I could describe to you like the various things. We joked about the dress. That was like probably stage 3 of hating on Taylor. But, they encouraged her to dress up in her finale dress and then go out and show off to everyone, and then said, look how arrogant she is showing off to everyone. And so that was a big thing for a while. The specific incident that you're talking about, we didn't see it on the feeds, but we do know that Paloma had generally spoken to Taylor and most of the women about like, obviously, we got to look at these guys. And I think we probably have some reason to believe that Taylor decided to give Monty a little bit of a heads up, like, hey, just so you know, Paloma's been saying this about the guys. And then when Monty went to Paloma with it, she said, that's an absolute lie. And in the way that Monty described it as well was like, she's saying that you are coming for me and Kyle and like the big guys. And Paloma said that's an absolute lie. And so that like was a big thing. And there are a lot of other like little small things, but they mostly just stem from their initial assumptions about who she was. And then like finding things to confirm those assumptions.
Okay.
Yeah, the building of it all is the confirmation bias, that like it starts with these small things and then it can build and build. And that's why I think the lying thing like became such a bigger deal, was because there were already these seeds of not trusting her. And so then when you have examples like that, you can just use that to confirm what you already believe.
Okay. So Taylor presumably is going up on the block on Monday and is looking like is in a lot of danger up against Terrence in the vote. Okay. If we may, I would like to just talk through some of the potential scenarios which could unfold. Okay. Is it possible that there is a Hail Mary still to come? And sometimes, look, I've had the rug pulled out from under me many, many times before. But is it possible that going into Thursday night, that this twist that is coming, that I feel like that Big Brother, Paramount Plus seem to be hinting towards, could be potentially the saving grace for Taylor?
I mean, we got a little teaser maybe of what could happen.
Can I play it? Can I play?
Please,
Okay.
yes.
So this is okay. Earlier tonight, 5 hours ago, Paramount Plus Twitter account tweeted out, eviction night is getting a new look and feel. Don't forget to tune into the BB24 live feeds to eavesdrop on the House Guests 24/7. Here's a message from the host of Big Brother, Julie Chen Moonves.
I can tell you that a big twist we are unveiling is going to affect eviction night.
Yeah.
And all I can tell you about this new twist is that it involves the actual eviction.
What?
Was that was the end of the clip?
That was so just hypothetically, okay? And Big Brother has been slow to as in like non-existent to address anything going on in the house. And even if that the desired results happened on Thursday, it still does not right what is going on in the house. But considering the fact that Paloma is one of the backstage people and potentially eligible for nomination, is it possible, and we have no idea what this nondescript twist is, could it potentially result on Thursday in Paloma going home and Taylor staying?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's no question in my mind that that's a possibility.
I mean, that would be something, right? That would be something.
That would be wild. But also part of me wants to save Taylor and just get her out of there. Like,
If
let her go.
Yeah.
If we have watched Big Brother, haven't we learned by now we get nothing that we want?
Right.
Well, but the other thing, wait for it, the unexpected.
Yes.
When was the last time that actually happened?
Yeah.
The eviction twist will affect the eviction.
Yes.
Wow, my
God.
My
Interesting though that they say eviction night is getting a new look and feel, Taran.
Yeah, so this has really made me think, and I've been thinking about this as well. You know, we talked about how, you know, Big Brother has been obsessed with Sunday competitions for years now. And they haven't set up any kind of Sunday competition. Now, the Sunday competition, again, still might be something regarding backstage that continues to impact the eviction. Or it could be that the Sunday competition is, for the foreseeable future, going to be the HOH competition, because there's some kind of other live, potentially, competition having to do with the backstage passers, maybe some kind of elimination competition, or a competition to see who ends up on the block, or a competition to see if somebody's able to stay in the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically take that like the HOH competition, but make that 20 minutes of the Sunday night show.
Yes.
And then like have some sort of like a last minute like competition to save one of the potential nominees.
Yes. I think that's a possibility for sure.
Yes.
And if there's one thing that Big Brother is super great at, it is live competitions.
That's right.
And live twists. Amazing. Didn't Julie Chen say she doesn't even know what it is yet? Like they hadn't briefed her yet. This was a little bit ago. So it's just bless their heart as to what's about to go down is how I feel about all of this. Because my ideal would be that it just switches. You know, that like, backstage is actually literally backstage and they're up for nominations. That's what I would love. But I do think that it's going to be a competition, something silly, because BB loves these like porta potty competitions. So I can't wait. I'm like trying to even imagine like what Coachella competition could it be?
Yeah, and we still have to incorporate the festivals every single week. So I don't know, maybe if we do that by way of like the HOH competition kicks off the next festival for the week. But again, I don't know how any of that is happening.
Well, if they do Woodstock, then I think Indy is prepared for that. So she'll be good at that competition.
Yes. For sure.
For sure. Well, so do we think it's going to be, do we know from the language of the voting, are we saving one person or two?
One
just
person.
One.
So then do we think that the other two have a competition and then they become a third nominee?
Oh,
That's possible. So that's definitely one of the things I'm thinking of. It could be them competing to see who becomes a third nominee. It could also be, I think I've seen some quotes that some people saw Julie saying like, hey, just because you were voted out doesn't mean you've been evicted yet. So some people are potentially speculating that maybe, the person voted out then competes against the backstage passers, maybe two, maybe one, to see who actually leaves or something along those lines. That sounds
terrible,
absurd. I mean, it would certainly be a new look and feel, but it would be terrible, which honestly makes me think it's theoretically possible because it sounds nice in theory, but then when the person that everybody just voted out stays in the house,
right?
They're still the house target. Like it doesn't change anything.
That's what I was thinking.
And if any of those things happen or are in play, like they need to tell the house about. Like, stop making it a mystery. Like if the backstage people are going and if they are like legit a third nominee, tell the house that one of these people is going to be the third nominee, because this isn't Survivor. We're not going to get a live tribal council. It's not going to be potentially like, oh, Alyssa is available for the. All right, scrap the plans, everybody. It's going to be Alyssa tonight. The Big Brother house guests do not do anything that impromptu on the vote.
Exactly. Yeah. If they've all planned on voting Taylor out, it doesn't matter who goes up as a third nominee. They're all just still going to vote Taylor. The only scenario where this
Frenchie could walk in that he's staying. Taylor is still going home.
Oh God.
No.
Yeah.
I would like Alyssa to go over Paloma. Is that bad? Like, I want a little bit of chaos, and like I think
I hear you.
Weakens her.
I hear you. That I think if they can sort of like get everybody like get these people like some warnings, like like put the get these people like back on the straight and narrow. And then you could have a storyline where you have this rivalry in the house. I mean,
yeah, like I don't appreciate the shining twins, so one of them needs to go, and then I'd rather, I think, Paloma stay out of that like pair. That's the maximum chaos.
The Shining Sisters, not the Scorpio Sisters.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of intrigue there. Taran, anything else of note we should be talking about at this hour?
The biggest thing that the episodes have not gone into yet is that there is a big alliance in addition to the girls, which is like barely a thing anymore. And so this is likely going to be our big alliance moving forward, assuming that both Paloma and Alyssa stay in the house. It's a combination of the guys' alliance and the women's alliance. It consists of 3 men and 3 women. Monty, Kyle, and Michael, alongside Paloma, Alyssa, and Amira. They call themselves the Mamba's alliance. And it originally included Pooch, but Paloma kicked Pooch out and included Michael instead.
See, she does have some redeeming qualities.
Listen.
So that's looking like the most solid, like big alliance right now, but it's still early and there's still a lot of talk about other things forming. So we'll have to wait and see. But Mamba is definitely I would be surprised if we didn't see it on Wednesday.
Okay.
Well, I think one interesting thing is that because of the switch to the live move-in, the first HOH only has 1 week now, not 2. And so it's interesting to see how the initial structure will start, because usually it's like, oh, well, they have 2 weeks, they form a big alliance, it's got the HOH, we move forward. Now we've had 2 seasons, one, Frenchie, chaos, and now we have this season where Daniel is not included in the Mambas, right? So the HOH is not part of that structure, but it's only for a week. So then we'll have to see how things play out in the coming weeks as things maybe start to solidify a little bit more.
Yeah, and I was gonna say they're also very averse of last season. Like that keeps coming up over and over again in different ways. Like, we can't be the cookout, or this is the cookout. This is Frenchie. So that's something that I'm interested to see how it plays out this season. And I don't just mean just for necessarily like Black people coming together or not or whatever. Like in general, I'm wondering how that plays out where they're so scared of last season.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of questions I want to hit here tonight before we start to wrap things up. Charlene wants to know, how can Daniel survive the next week after his HOH reign? We know that he's had kind of like a weak WEAK HOH reign, but has it been so bad where then he goes from the HOH room to one of the nominations chairs next week?
I would say no. And I would also say, unfortunately, because of the Taylor thing, this has started to, it sounds bad saying it, it started to redeem his HOH a little bit, because instead of just like doing his own thing and failing, because it was looking like he was going to fail to get Michael out, which was going to be a disaster for his HOH reign. Instead of that, he's in a position where he is now genuinely doing the entire house's bidding. They're all backing him up, and they all feel grateful to him for having done it. And they feel like he's now doing all of the things that you want to do as an HOH in some ways. Now, the only issue, of course, is Michael, who has proven himself in the veto competition, could definitely be the sort of the thorn in his side. But I would say he's honestly in a better position now than he was like a day or two ago.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, essentially, would have been, if Michael had stayed on the block, a really interesting situation with the votes, because he wanted Michael gone, but Michael had the backing, it had enough votes to stay. And so I think that, but then Daniel was trying to whip the votes, and that would have been very interesting. But now that there's this consensus target, it does, like Taran was saying, put him in a better spot.
All right. Puccia wants to know, how much or how long do we think before people catch on to Paloma's messy alliance structure?
Is this Puccia or is it Puya as Puccia?
We don't know.
No.
We don't know. We're not sure. We don't know. I don't think that Puya is going by Puccia.
Okay.
Now he will be. Can't wait to call him.
I
that.
do not think he is using that handle.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if
comment.
I wasn't sure if whoever wrote the question decided to do that on his behalf.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think what Puccia is saying is that there's Paloma is all over the place.
Yeah.
She's just talking to everybody and saying a million words and just sort of word vomiting all over. And so, you kind of have to imagine that, like, when you're talking to so many people, eventually something's going to slip.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But are they smart enough to understand what she's doing? Is the who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always an interesting situation. I think that there's a good chance she doesn't get caught, just because that's, being in this position is usually pretty good. And so far it's been going pretty well. She's also, despite the fact that she's been a bit all over the place, kicking some people out of the alliance and replacing them and so forth, for the most part, the relationships that she's built have been pretty stable. If anything, I think she's honestly most in danger of being exposed just through this Taylor situation. Once Taylor finds out she's going on the block or gets nominated, right now everybody's on Paloma's side. They're like, oh, poor Paloma. But when Taylor actually maybe gets to explain herself and actually communicate with people, we might start to see like what happened with Nicole in season 21, where they're kind of like, were we wrong? And that might get them to second guess Paloma.
Well, that's what I was thinking of. Like, when Taylor finds out tomorrow she's up on the block and starts asking, like, well, why did this happen? They're like, oh, Taylor, you dug your own grave. You lied about like that. And then Taylor says, house meeting, everybody. Let's go. Let's do this. It could, I feel like, start to expose Paloma, and then potentially set up a scenario where, Paloma, the third nominee on Thursday.
But Daniel's writing so hard for her. He's like, my little sister, that cutie. Meh, meh, meh. like Taylor could be like, the sky is blue, and they'll be like, she's a damn liar. There was an airplane in it. That means it wasn't completely blue, and there's clouds. So there's white in there. Like, that's the kind of like, I feel like, not, I don't know if hate is even the right word, just like revisionist history in their mind with Taylor. So I feel like Paloma could do it. Like, could be like, y'all, she's on the block. Like, obviously she's gonna say that. But y'all know, I told you before she went on the block that this is what she was doing. I didn't even picture her first. Like, that's how I think Paloma could get out of it. And Daniel, I don't know, I think Daniel will fall for it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is going to be the interesting part of this now moving forward. Okay, so now like all these people are making these plans, and they can't get Taylor's name out of their mouth. But now, okay, now Taylor is going to find out. All right. Oh, you're coming for me. And then how is she able to, mount a counteroffensive here over these next 3 days as we get from Monday night to Thursday? And so let's start to see what that campaign looks like, again, against Terrence and potentially this third nominee who's coming.
Yeah, it's very easy to continue to paint somebody as in a certain light when they don't know that it's happening and nobody's talking to them about it. It's a lot more difficult to do it when the person is coming up to you and being like, so what's up? What's going on? And then you have to explain it to them, and like the what is the term I'm thinking of, like the level of evidence required to when you're talking to the actual person is a lot higher. The standard for it is, so as soon as you start to explain it, sometimes you're like, wait a minute, is this actually true? Is this like when you start to be like, well, remember that time you came out in the dress? Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, we did kind of convince you to do that. Like that, you actually start second guessing it a little bit.
Yeah. And how is Paloma going to handle like any sort of like cross examination about all of these accusations about what Taylor did and when? So let's see.
Well, and I don't think in terms of the voting, I think it ends the 14th, like 9 a.m. the 14th. Yep. So they're not going to know about, because they're not going to know, the results, right, until that time, the day of the eviction. So I think that's going to throw a curveball, which she's not going to know about, which I wish she had the opportunity to know that there's going to be something going on.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Who knows?
Maybe also worth like briefly mentioning, Brittany and Alyssa weren't in this episode. I mean, this was not only did Paloma get the most screen time by far of the backstagers, but she basically got the most screen time, period. Could that impact the safety vote with the casual audience? I know that the online community has been mostly in favor of Brittany for a little while. But I could see, even though it wasn't a particularly positive episode for
she did get the
Paloma,
story about her grandmother.
Just name recognition alone at this point. If they click on the page, they're gonna like, who are these two? This one.
Yeah. No, I think she definitely is a production favorite. I think you can tell from the early going, just because she's giving them so much.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I do think that the online community seems to have more pull, weirdly, in the US than it does in Canada. So I still, I think, would be a little surprised if Paloma got the vote, but I think it's slight possibility here.
I feel like with the fan vote, with the online audience versus the TV audience, I think that like when you have like somebody who's like a big like TV favorite, I think that they probably, and this is like completely like pulling stuff out of my backside here, but I feel like that because it's so nebulous, what are we voting for? What is this power? What are we saving? That I feel like that the online community who are voting every single day from the day of the premiere, I do think that they're going to have more weight here.
Yeah.
Is it every day or is it just 10 votes total?
I think it's every day.
No, I thought it was
10
10
total,
votes
I think.
Is it?
Yeah, that's it.
I did vote on multiple email accounts, but
Same.
But only once.
But only once.
But only, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else? BB24 tonight before we close the books on Sunday. All right. Let me tell you about what else is going on here over these next couple days here. first off, make sure you're locked into everything we're doing here on Big Brother. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast feed. Go to robhasawebsite.com/BB24 for all things Big Brother. Tomorrow night, I will be back with the first episode of The Slop. Luckily, we have a very sloppy cast to talk about here this season. If you see slop happening that you want us to address on the show, go to robhasawebsite.com/getsloppy to send it our way. I'll be with Jenny Autumn live at 6 p.m. Eastern for the patrons of Rob as a Podcast. Tuesday night, Taran, you've got the first roundtable of the season. And boy, the stock watch that we could be coming into a bear market.
We will see where these players fall. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Okay. Of course, Taran, when does the voting open for the first stock watch of the season?
It'll be Tuesday morning after the update. So
okay.
Stay
Be on
tuned.
the lookout for that. Amon will join Taran and Melissa coming up on Tuesday. We'll be live again after the episodes on Wednesday night and Thursday. So look for us there. Plus, we have our coverage of the challenge over on RHAP, Challenge USA. I had a very lively exit interview this week with the first duo eliminated, Brian and Allie. Have a full recap of that in our challenge podcast feed. And then, of course, check out everything we are doing for the patrons of Rob as a Podcast over at robhasawebsite.com/patron. Okay. Liana, what's coming up for you?
Well, in addition to becoming New Haven's hottest karaoke DJ,
Mhm.
I am podcasting about RuPaul's Drag Race.
What's your DJ name?
Ooh, the twerker. I know Kyle sort of has like the hold on that, but I think that I
Mhm.
could make it work.
Dr. Twerker.
That's that's
Mhm.
Dr. Twerker to you.
Mhm.
So podcasting, like I said, about RuPaul's Drag Race. We're covering All Stars, All Winners, which is really fun. And then I was on the 90 Day Fiance podcast this week.
Yes.
Back-to-back appearances.
Back to back. I thought,
Mhm.
it was so much fun to listen to you last week back with Puya. And what a double treat. I've given up watching the show, but I'm just gonna podcast the rest of the way for this season.
That sounds like the perfect way to approach it.
Okay. All right. Great to have you back here with us tonight, Liana. Sasha, I know Akiva and I got to talk to you about RRR, which is a epic movie out of India, which is on Netflix right now. We talked about it on the latest episode of Rob and Akiva Need a Podcast. So much fun getting to do that podcast with you this week.
Yeah, oh my God. I can't believe it. I'm like the summer blockbuster for RHAP, so I come on there every summer. So can't wait for the third appearance next year. I can't wait. It was absolute joy to be there. And you can find more of me over on Mess Magnets. So Rob has a podcast /Mess Magnets where Kirsten and I honestly just drag people for an hour. And with like some celebrity gossip and news in there, but it's really just vibes only, as Big Brother contestants would call it.
Right. And it's very important. Everybody needs to subscribe to robhasawebsite.com/mess feed because you don't know. Sasha and Kirsten could be talking about you.
Period.
So you have to listen to the show and make sure that they didn't find out about any of your mess this week.
Listen, your coworker, your best friend could be cheating, and they
could have
submitted
rogue ratted you.
I'm fully expecting to have a whole segment on the sex coach thing.
Mhm.
So
Can't wait. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, check that out. Kirsten and I, vibes only, but like the fun vibes, not the bro vibe,
not the homie vibe.
okay.
Not yelling in the bathroom.
Yeah,
Please. Okay, there's a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can check me over on post-show recaps. I was actually talking Miss Marvel with Kevin and Mike, and I'll be on next week as well for the finale. It's been absolutely so much fun to watch Miss Marvel, so completely excited to be talking with them and talking all things Miss Marvel. And over on Silent Podcast, Shannon, Mike, Jason Orch, and I will be doing a Survivor South Africa draft next week. So I'm again vibes only because like I listen to the podcast, but like here I am. So we'll be doing a draft there next week. So check out that as well. I'm just glad I got to talk through all of this with y'all. It was like therapy. I needed it, so I'm not yelling on Twitter anymore. So So thank you, y'all. Appreciate you.
Yeah, great to have you here with us tonight, Sasha. Of course, Taran. Great live feed update today with Kirsten, where a lot of the things we talked about tonight were talked through in greater detail. What else is coming? First up, tomorrow, who's on live feed update, 11 a.m. Did you check out Taran there? Yes.
Should be a good time.
Should be a good one. Taran, what else is coming up for you?
The Stock Watch roundtable Tuesday night. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, hanging out, playing some games, watching the episodes live with all of you. You can also find some of the old Among Us games being put out on YouTube. If you want to check those out, they're very fun. So lots of stuff.
All
fun
right.
stuff.
Thank you all so much for joining us here tonight for first Sunday night of the season. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.